everybody doing? DJ Khaled. We the best podcast. Oh. Good morning. I think I have a little bit more energy because it is a late start for me this morning. I normally record these at like 7 a.m. I get up super early, put everything together, kind of run through it in my head a little bit, and then start recording before the lady wakes up. That way she doesn't have to worry about being quiet. But two things have allowed me to start this at 10 a.m. She is over in Placerville / Sacramento, going back and forth between her mom's house and her dad's house. She's dog sitting and house sitting for her dad, and she had to run to Placerville for an appointment. Long story short, I've got the apartment to myself. Just kidding, my roommate's still here. But I also am on spring break starting today. Well, today for you, tomorrow for me technically, but the weekend before spring break is always a part of spring break. And so it's time to get my sleep schedule all fucked up. I think I went to bed last night at like 4 a.m. I was just binge watching MasterChef because that's what I do now, is I watch anything and everything about Gordon Ramsay. I've always been fascinated with Gordon Ramsay, and so is my mom. My mom was actually on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares when they featured a restaurant in Ventura. Weird, another connection. Rich was on an episode of Hell's Kitchen. They had the Pulse Drumline there 1 year for a couple seconds. They during one of the challenges, they had the Pulse Drumline come out and like try to like distract them. It was back in it was either in 2014 still, I think it was. It was after WGI, so Pulse had already won. But it was in 2014, so they had on their red, uniforms from that year. And pretty funny. So I've actually known two people to be in the presence of Gordon Ramsay, and I have not. But the newest season of Hell's Kitchen that I'm watching right now, the winner of that is the head chef over at his new restaurant in Lake Tahoe, which I live pretty close to. So once I finish the season, I think we're down to the top 5 right now. So I think they're gonna get the black coats soon. But that one's actually happening now. So I'm binge watching MasterChef because I think they're on their 10th season, but I started from the beginning. But Hell's Kitchen, I'm watching the newest season as it all comes out. So it comes out weekly, and as soon as I see who wins, I want to go eat at the restaurant. I want to get on the waiting list because I'm sure there's like a 6-month-long to a year-long waiting list to eat there. But I also don't want to like go to the website or call or anything in some sort of, I don't want to find out who won, basically. So that wasn't even on my list to talk about. Look at us. We're just riffing. But anyway, yeah, I'm on spring break. Probably just spend the rest of it binge watching MasterChef and playing guitar. But last weekend I went home, so that was really cool. I got to see my mom and my dad, my bro, all my friends, and that's always super fun. It was especially cool this time though because things were sort of kind of opening up and getting sort of normal. They're crazier now. When I left, things really opened up because they got pushed into the new tier, and they're in that whatever Gavin Newsom says you're allowed to open stuff in. They're in that one. I think it's the red tier. So actually, when I left, one of my friends, she got to sit at the bar inside of a restaurant and all that, and that's pretty cool. But when I was there, we tried out this new restaurant called Immigration Sun, I believe is what it's called. It's owned by an Italian guy, and oh my god, it was delicious. It was pretty pricey, but it was one of the few places where I feel that the food justified the price. I also didn't pay for it. My mom paid for it, so price was amazing. But yeah, I had this it's like chicken avocado sandwich, and it was a fat sandwich, and it didn't come with like any fries or any chips or anything. You just had the sandwich, which I appreciated because I didn't like get full on other crap. I only ate the sandwich. I got to just taste the sandwich and have the sandwich. No fries, no chips, no nothing. And a good beverage and a good frothy beer that was local. It was a new hazy IPA because that's what I'm into. That a local brewery called the VCBC had. I don't know if it's new. I've never tried it, but I had that. I had the sandwich, the beer, and they come up towards the end and they give you these little like waffle, like crisp cookie things. They're like super thin. Oh, it was so good. And they were so nice there. All of them. So if you're ever in the downtown Ventura area, check out Immigration Sun. Sponsored. Just kidding. Not sponsored. But yeah, no, it was cool. Just hung out. We didn't do much. The plans fell through. My little brother was supposed to play some baseball, and then things were happening within the team, and tournaments were being talked about, and scrimmages being talked about. Nothing ever came about. So didn't get to watch the baseball, but that's okay. Next time. Yesterday, well, I'll start with Friday. Friday, my girlfriend and I was like, you know what? Let's go downtown today. Let's just go chill. I want to be around some people. I want to, because things are starting to go back, and it's been really exciting, and people are getting their vaccines, and things are looking a little promising. So I was like, you know what? Let's go downtown. Let's have some fun. And so I really wanted pizza, and we know of a pizza place that has a beautiful baked salmon, or it's a smoked salmon. It's a smoked salmon pizza, and it is very, very delicious. So I wanted that. And when we walked up, there was a guy sitting with a guitar, and I had seen him there before. We had walked by one night, and he was playing, and I was like, ooh, nice. And this was, still during COVID, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's out there playing guitar. But he was there again on Friday, and I was like, yes, let's get a table right in front of him, and let's enjoy some live music for the first time in like forever. So yeah, we sat. We got a sweet potato fry, little appetizer. I got another hazy IPA. I'm starting to be. I don't know if anybody watches Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but that guy Teddy, whose favorite beer is a Pilsner, and he can't stop talking about Pilsners. Even though Pilsner is a wildly, boring beer compared to a hazy IPA, I feel like I'm getting that way with hazies. All I drink are hazies. Anyway, yeah, we're just chilling, watching guitar. I met him. I ended up following him on Instagram. I'm gonna go see his band play at some point in a couple Saturdays. Because I was talking to him, and he let me know of a spot that his band plays every Saturday. He's there every Friday. His band plays every Saturday. But this upcoming Saturday, there's a different band playing that's a little bit more like punk rock, he said. So I'm going to go check that out. But yeah, it's cool. Making connections. Still trying to start that band. Still trying to relive my middle school glory days when I peaked. That actually segues into the elephant in the room. I'm blonde now. So, yeah. I got bored. Like, dude, I need some fun in my life. I was waiting for my hair to grow out to like a certain length. I wanted to do it because I didn't want to like bleach it and then like kind of a waste because there's like no hair there. It's just like a bleached dome. So yeah, I let it grow out a little bit, bleached it, put some toner in there. I was rocking the bleached hair for like a week. I bleached it and it's all brassy. And then I was like, okay, how do I do this? I went to some chick at a beauty store and she's like, bleach it again, and then you do the blonde toner. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do the blonde toner yet. I'm just going to see if I'll bleach it again and it'll get me, up to where I want it. Well, it didn't. It just made it look even brassier. It was still cool, though. My friends liked it. My mom didn't mind it. And then I eventually did the blonde toner, and I'm glad I did that. So I've got the whole thing, like the purple shampoo and all that. It's a lot of maintenance. It's very easy maintenance, but I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to do it. And the last time I did this, I was in, when I talked about having this guitar, I had the blonde tips. When I was a freshman, when I was a freshman, I got my hair, I got frosted tips. This time I wanted to go full. I want to go full blonde. So yeah, did it myself and kind of cool. I'm into it. Might keep it for a little bit. We'll see. Maybe I'll go green. Who knows? Screw it. Why not, dude? Who's going to stop me? I don't got no job. It's quarantine. I got no one to impress. Except for myself. So. But, yeah. Okay, back to the live music thing. Yesterday, so on Friday when we were talking about going downtown, I was like, man, I want to see some live music. Or what? I think it was like last Thursday, whatever, doesn't matter. I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, I want to see some live music. And she went on Facebook and she found a few events of some groups playing in like Sacramento area and the other way over in Winters, sort of like countryside. And we found a band called Vinyl Ride playing in Winters at a brewery called Green River that's right off of Puta Creek. It's a funny name. And we went, and the experience was had. Was it a good one? Maybe. Was it bad? Was it weird? A little bit. Basically, we get there, and it already feels like we're crashing something that we were totally not invited to. I'm walking up with my spiked blonde hair, denim jacket, pins, wallet chain, and then I'm like walking into a sea of like Kid Rock fans. It's like I drive a truck, but I don't drive those trucks. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, like I didn't look hard enough, but maybe one of them had a Confederate flag sticker. Maybe, I don't know. I'm making judgments here, and I'm making assumptions that maybe don't exist. But it was those types of people. It was a very, very kind of older, like classic hard rock group of people. Except they all felt connected, like in some sort of way. It looked like they were all there together. So when I was walking in, I told my girlfriend, I was like, I feel like we're crashing something. And she's like, yeah, it feels like a family reunion. And it's exactly what it felt like. And so we kind of are confused of where to get our beer. There's like multiple like cash only carts that are serving beer. And then we eventually see the actual place because we had to park in like this dirt lot because the front parking lot was full. And so we go up. Well, we were waiting in this line forever. The band's already started. They're like 2 songs in, and we're like halfway through the line. And so we're just chilling. I got the whole little, they got a little self-pour thing, which is cool. We had one of those in Ventura before they closed because they were bad at business. But yeah, you got a little card and you stuck it in the thing. You poured your own beer. You got to try them and stuff. So I love doing that. We ordered chips and salsa, but it took an hour to get because the order didn't get put into the normal ticket line of orders because it's just chips and salsa, except they didn't want to tell me that I can just go up and ask to get chips and salsa from the expediter running the food. So it's like we sat for an hour waiting for my name to be called for chips and salsa, and then finally I was like, "Hey, I've been waiting on some chips and salsa for an hour," and they're like, "Oh, we could have gotten that for you." I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." Somebody needs to tell you that you can just walk up and get chips and salsa, that you don't need to wait, that there is going to be no wait in the normal ticket line. Anyway, got our chips and salsa. They were pretty good. But yeah, before that, while we were waiting for our food, we were standing and I was watching the band because that's what I was there for. I wanted to watch some live music, and they're playing the classics, stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to, like stuff my dad would listen to, so I know because he plays it. And I could sing along to him, but like, I'm not over there like, yeah, I was doing that ironically. Woo. And so we're standing, watching the band, and we're not like front and center. We're kind of off to the back, but there's a table next to us, and the table is full of maybe like 20 people that is directly like related to the band, like wives, best friends. Like, this is the posse right here. This is Vinyl Ride's crew. Well, we very quickly got the impression that we were not welcome at all, because what they were doing is anytime they wanted to get another beer, they wanted to go have a smoke, they wanted to go say hi to somebody, they would walk, I shit you not, directly in front of us, almost hitting us, like so uncomfortably close to us that it was like, we're like, Jesus, like, and we kept getting pushed back and back. But behind us, there was one of those beer carts. It wasn't open; it was just sitting there. But it was behind us, and then behind that was the tent that more tables were in. So we didn't have like much distance to go, and I was just watching the band. But man, they were like, and it happened. I'm not even exaggerating, like 12 to 14 times somebody walked by, some people multiple times, just like wildly close. Like, I'm holding my beer out like this, like how you just normally hold a beer. I'm just chilling right here. They would walk by and I could just go cheers to their arm. Like, I just go boop. And I almost did it one time. When I finally realized what they were doing, one guy walked back in front of me, and as soon as he crossed my path, I went, cheers. And I didn't hit him, but it was very, very close. But they were literally like right, just walking past. Like, Jesus Christ. So after a few songs, we were just like, all right, let's go find a table. And then we sat down and enjoyed our chips and salsa and enjoyed the rest of the day. But it was a very specific group of people. Just to further explain, get a better picture in your head, right when we got there, the guy at the front of the bar getting his drink was not wearing a mask, and he had a military OD green shirt on that on the back had the radioactive symbol, and it said, "The only virus in this country is the media." So that should give you a pretty good idea of who we were hanging out with yesterday. But nonetheless, it was really great to hear some live music, watch some people play some instruments live, have some fun, auction off a crazy looking knife, what have you. But yeah, halfway through the semester, guys, I'm really, really excited for this to be over. This semester and my school. I'm almost there. I've got 1 year left. But yeah, I've just been head down in the books, focusing on school, getting everything done, trying to stay on top of it. Got like 4 A's and like 2 high B's. I'm trying to get back into the A's. So it's been tough, but I'm doing it. Once this semester is over, I'm going to be trying to do a lot more with like things I want to do. this YouTube channel will get a little bit more attention. My music will get a little bit more attention, stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes school just drags you down. You got so much shit to do, and you got to get on Zoom, and then once you're like done with your assignments, you just want to sleep. Oh, weird that I said that. My computer went to sleep. Wake up. And so like you don't like have much time for like fun activities. I mean, you still do, but like you just feel burnt. And it's really weird because I don't have to go anywhere. So that should just tell you how much I don't like school. It burns you out even though I'm doing barely anything. Whatever. Oh, if you're into this, so I don't know if you remember a few episodes, I talked about a guitar that I was like building. I was like putting a new pickup in a new pickguard, and it was, the whole thing is supposed to be, I'm keeping an eye on my camera time. It's going to stop here pretty soon. I'm just going to reset it. I'll just reset. I'm proactive. Look at you. The guitar I made okay, so we all know Green Day is my favorite band. No longer embarrassed to admit that. I didn't listen to Green Day for several years because everyone listened to Green Day, and it was not cool to like Green Day. For some reason, no one likes Green Day, but you know what? I'm over it. I grew up listening to Green Day, thanks to my mom giving me an album. Playing Green Day was like one of the first bands I ever listened to, like remember listening to. Like I was always around music and always heard shit like the Beatles and all that from my uncle, but Green Day, my mom had a disc. She just threw it in, and that was the band I latched onto. Anyway, no longer embarrassed to admit that they're my favorite band, and the front man Billy Joe, he has a guitar that is kind of iconic. It was his first guitar that his mom gave him, and that was like the guitar he was known for all the way up until like around the late 90s, early 2000s when he moved on with his deal with Gibson. So he had a guitar that was like his identity, had his initials on it with duct tape, had stickers all over it, and stickers changed throughout the years. But a lot of people do like copies of that guitar. They'll make like replicas of it. And it's a Stratocaster style guitar by a brand called Fernandez, not Fender. And a lot of people will buy the stickers and put them on there. They'll take the duct tape and put BJ on there for Billy Joe. Well, it's one of my favorite guitars. I love looking at it. I think it's one of the coolest looking guitars that anybody on stage plays in any group. And so I wanted to do sort of like one of those copies. I wanted to do one of those replicas, except I didn't want to copy it entirely because even I know there's a line you don't cross between appreciation and obsession. So I bought not a Stratocaster style guitar, I bought a Telecaster style guitar. And I got the stickers, and the color is not the blue color that he has, but it's a green color, so it kind of like looks a little aged, but I don't really care about copying, the exact color. But basically I morphed, this is probably super boring if you're not into this, I morphed two guitars that he has. He has a Telecaster guitar that plays as the backup to the Stratocaster, and then he has a Stratocaster, and I combined them because I have a Telecaster, and I cut a custom pickguard to match his Telecaster, but then I put the stickers on as a Stratocaster. Anyway, I'm just going to show you. So those are sort of the current stickers that he'd have on the guitar right now. And so I slapped those on. They came from Russia, so they took forever to get here, which is why I have not talked about this. I've just been waiting. But yeah, like this pickguard I custom cut. I put in, the pickup and did all the electronics. It's got one volume knob because that's all he uses. I've got all the stickers, but it's a Telecaster style guitar. So I finally finished this little project. He's got his initials here that say, BJ. I decided to not go with those because I still want it to be my own. I want it to be, a like inspired by and not so much a copy. But if you're into learning more about that whole process of how I did all that, I'm going to be making I recorded everything. I filmed me basically putting it together. And so I'm going to make a video. I'll probably upload it here, and most of you will probably not be into it, but a lot of people will probably click on it that don't even know my channel exists, but they'll see Billy Joe Armstrong. So I'm going to upload it here. And if you're into that, check it out. It's just a guitar build. And it's not going to be anything like, I'm not going to be like all fangirl. I'm just going to be doing the build, But anyway, I finished that. Also, when I went to record this morning, this is like my favorite SD card. It's like my most like souped up SD card. I have other like CF cards that are a little bit better than this one, but this is my SanDisk Extreme 60 megabytes a second, class 10, 32 gigabyte SD card. I've had this since I launched my, basically launched this channel. I bought this when I bought my first DSLR camera, and that when got the YouTube thing going and then got the photography thing going, but it died. It is dead. Basically what happened is every SD card has this little slider on the side that's a lock, and that locks the information, not the information from being copied from, but information being copied to. So like I could plug this into the computer and take whatever's off of it and copy it and put it on the computer, but I no longer can write to this card because that little lever thing snapped off the other day when I went to go upload my friend's engagement photos. It kind of popped off, and I was like, oh no, I hope it didn't pop off down in the locked position. Well, sure enough it did, because I popped it into that camera that you're watching this through, and it says SD card locked. So I couldn't record to it. So rest in peace, little guy that I've had since 2014. Shit, that's a long time to have this. Have an SD card, a little piece of plastic with a little copper in there. Parts of it have already broken off. I remember when that broke off a few years ago. But yeah. Anyway, my card number 2 is what's recording to right now. My second favorite, the Survivor, the one that I use less because I use that one for everything pretty much. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for catching up. We're gonna get into the news now. All right, so first a bit of news. Lost another member of the marching activity family, the humongous family that it is. This one is Hugh Mahone, and he's pretty special because he's one of the, if not the founding father of Drum Corps International. So basically, he started an organization on the East Coast called the United Organization of Junior Corps, or UOJC, and he was the director of Garfield Cadets at the time, and that was sort of like East Coast DCI, like it was an organized circuit of groups on the East Coast. Well, then shortly after that, another organization was formed in the Midwest called the Midwest Combine, and those two merged and created DCI. So Hugh Mahone, he passed away. Cadets director basically started DCI. So just wanted to highlight that and send my thoughts and prayers to his family and to DCI and to the cadets. I'm sure he was a really great dude. I'm only just now learning about him now. I don't know much history about DCI and the big names in it and the creators and all that, so I'm just learning about him now. But It's sad. It's never a good day, losing somebody. So rest in peace, Hugh Mahone. Thank you so much for starting this beautiful organization for us high school band nerds to continue spending money playing drums and playing instruments. Moving on, the Boston Crusaders are going to Ireland. What? It is Drum Corps International, after all. And I know, like the Blue Devils have been to, I think, Taiwan or something. I think Vanguard's gone on a trip. But yeah, so Boston announced that they're going to Ireland in 2022, and it's sort of a whole campaign of sorts to try to spread the activity. And they're working together with a couple people over there, over in Dublin, to organize this thing. And basically they're gonna go be in a parade. That's essentially what's happening. Next year, the St. Patrick's Day parade. I'm sure St. Patrick's Day is poppin' in Ireland. That would probably be so much fun. But they're gonna go be in that parade in 2022, and you can go if you want. You can enter to win a trip. So you go to this website and you can literally buy entries. Although the link doesn't really work. Oh, it's closed. Never mind, you can't go. Oh my God. So they were only accepting 100 entries, and it looks like they got that right away. 10 grand they got out of this. Just kicked my camera, sorry. But yeah, they were trying to raise 10 grand and they got $10,135. And you cannot go. If you did not enter, and if you are not one of those lucky ones that gave them your money in the beginning, sorry. You're shit out of luck. I don't know what to tell you. Entries have sold out, it says. Anyway, I thought that's pretty cool. Going to Ireland, spreading the word internationally. I think that's cool. I want to see more international stuff in drum corps. There's that drum line that comes from, I don't know where they come from. I'm just blanking on their name. It's an Asian group. They did the whole drumline battle stuff. They're so cool. They do all the cool stomping and stuff, and they're good. I think Mandarins had to drum against them back in 2013 as a part of the drumline battle. They for sure lost. Yeah, and then there's Aimachi. I think that's what they're called. The indoor group that would come out every once in a while. I want to see some international groups. That'd be so cool. And I know over, is it Ireland that Top Secret is in? I think it's Ireland, right? They're from Ireland. The Top Secret drumline. I could be totally wrong. Let me fact check that real quick. Hold on. Top Secret drumline, because I know the internet loves them. When I was doing drum corps and stuff, you'd always get oh, they're from Switzerland. That's right. Okay. Well, dude, I know Blue Devils did some stuff with them in the past. But you remember when you're in high school and you're in drumline, and even as an adult when you're in drum corps, your family members will always come across the same viral Top Secret drumline video, and they'll send it to you hoping that you had never ever seen it before. No, and just not even realizing that we spend the majority of our time on YouTube watching other drumlines, and we for sure have come across several Top Secret drumline videos. And when you're a kid, you think they're awesome, and then when you're an adult, you're kind of not into them. You appreciate their talent, and it's really good drumming, but it's the show stuff. So it's that's not what I'm into. I'm into the really low triplet roll that is really clean, and they're all in the. But yeah, anyway, you always get those things shared to you, little top secret videos, and they go, "Oh, check this out. Is this what you do?" And you're like, "Yeah." No. They probably get paid to do it, and I spend a lot of money to drum. Anyway, now I'm just talking shit on my family. Moving on. The troopers are getting new uniforms, and Fruhoff is making them. I love Fruhoff. I think they're doing some cool things. Fruhoff is, they're the ones that now make the Mandarins uniforms. I believe we got our deal with Fruhoff in 2018. When we got the new uniforms, we switched to Fruhoff. We were with somebody else that did the purple ones. And I think that was, who was that? Was that Jay something? No, it was Stanbury, I think. It was Stanbury. Anyway, Fruhoff. Fruhoff is now with the troopers. I don't know if they were there. I don't know if the troopers and Fruhoff already had a relationship, but they look kind of cool. They're modern, futuristic. It's just kind of funny, like, I feel like their hat just throws some things off sometimes, because it's kind of like a funny looking cowboy hat. I think the troopers are cool. I've always liked their uniforms, but they definitely have their identity. And I appreciate that they're not straying from that. They got the hat. They've got the basic troopers look, just not the same colors anymore. Not that kind of like blue and gold. They are now this like black and maroon and silvery. So, kind of cool. I wonder if this is going to still sort of be their like staple uniform, or if this is going to be just next year's uniform, and then the following year they'll have another new uniform if they're going to go that route, like with everybody else. We've talked about that a few times on the podcast, but I think they look cool. I'm excited to see them. So I think that's it for news. Yeah, new troop uniforms. That's the last thing I got on my list. All right, so basically what I want to do now, I'm sort of changing the route of this podcast. So the original sort of timeline was shoot the shit in the morning, talk about news, and then it was Hall of Dame, which we're still going to do, although I didn't remember. I think of something. Hall of Dame, and then Q&A, and then like that's it. That was like the sort of thing. And then we're going to incorporate interviews. What I want to do now is, if I don't have an interview lined up, we're going to have just a single topic to talk about, because I've been getting some questions that are pretty damn good, and I want to be able to go into further depth with them and sort of talk about them for a long time, but that means they can't be grouped in with a bunch of other Q&A questions. So whenever I get a question that I can go, really into depth with, that's going to be the topic for the video. And then I'll probably do other Q&A, smaller questions at the end like normal. But every podcast from now on will either have a topic or an interview. And that's how we're going to do it. And if no one has given me a topic, if no one wants to talk about anything that is a little bit deeper than just a normal question, I will think of a topic. So it'll be a good sort of way to kind of keep me fresh too, and not just let you do all the work and me just talk about it and record it and make money. You make money off these? No, I don't. I wish. Anyway, so today's topic, Reese Fleming who I marched with, he said, I want to hear about what groups inspired you. Like, what was your first show? Maybe high school experiences / memories. Just stuff about your younger marching years. And he says, also, I'd love to hear some of your music you've been working on. When that is done, I will talk about it. I think I'll be getting it done this week with spring break. So that's exciting. Anyway, so yeah, the topic, what groups inspired me? Right away, Pulse and Bluecoats. Those were the two like solid WGI group, DCI group. My freshman year, when I started learning about this whole thing, that's where I gravitated towards. Now, that happened for a couple of reasons. Let me go back all the way to the summer before my freshman year. So, the second half of my 8th grade year, I played in a band. I played bass, and we were a little pop punk band playing some Blink-182 covers, Green Day covers. Did we play Green Day? I don't think we even played any Green Day. We played a couple Green Day songs, like The Clash, but we also did like some classic stuff. We did like Led Zeppelin. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a rock star. This is the life. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's what I wanted to do. Well, then, my front man and we were going into high school. And he lived in the town over, so he wasn't directly in the district of the high school that I was in, which was Buena High School. So he had to do this whole roundabout thing about getting into the school if he wanted to go there. And basically, he had to wait for every incoming freshman to be at Buena, and then if there was space, he could put in an application to do an interdistrict transfer and go to Buena. Well, apparently my freshman class was humongous and it just filled. So there was no space for anybody that wasn't in the district and that the school didn't legally require or legally have to accept into the school. So he went to a different school, and that's sort of where it fizzled out. Sort of at the same time, orientation and things were happening, and my mom and I are walking in the cafeteria looking at all the extracurricular crap you can sign up for, and I get to the marching band. I get to like the music association little trifold, and they've got pictures of like the jazz band, string orchestra, the marching band, and all that. Well, I look at one of the marching band pictures, and a guy named Cole Citronbaum. I don't know if I hope he's still playing music. He's a damn good guitar player. He's playing bass in the marching band, and I'm like, hey, that looks like the bass that I have. I play bass. Why don't I join the marching band? And the mom that was there that we ended up becoming close to, we were pretty good friends with that family. She goes, okay, well, if you want to be in the marching band, you also got to be in the jazz band. No reason other than that they were trying to expand the jazz band. So they made it sort of this rule that if you wanted to be in the marching band, because that was already so popular, they needed more people for the other ensembles. So you had to sign up for at least one other like class ensemble. So then I was like, okay, I'll be in jazz band. I play bass. I'll play bass and jazz band. And so that is how I got into the music program at Buena, and that's how I joined the marching band. Or was it the other way around? Did I want to be in jazz band and they wanted to expand the marching band? It was one of those. I saw the picture of the marching band with Cole playing bass in the pit. That's what I saw, though. I remember seeing that. Anyway, signed up for marching band. Now I'm signed up for jazz band. And so that summer, basically the band's broken up. Jansen is his name. He goes off to a music school in LA and he's doing his thing down there. He's with other bands and all that. That's going to stop again. So yeah, he's down there doing his thing, playing with other bands and getting his gigs. And I believe he's like a producer now. But I show up to band camp, and I don't really know where the original like idea was, but I think I heard a drum, or the idea of being in a drum line was more appealing to me than basically just saying, "Oh, I play bass." And I think that was because I thought that drums are cooler, right? We all know that. Drums are the coolest section in the marching band. Duh. And I was like, I want to be in the drum line. I think that's all my little pea brain, that was the only idea I had. So they split everybody up. They said, whatever you're interested in, go hang out with them. Well, the thing about the drum line is it's always set before. There's always a handful of spots still available by the time you get to band camp, but usually the line is set the spring semester prior. So I showed up to band camp, and I think there's like 2 bass drum spots like still unfilled, really. And there's like 5 of us still not like still interested in it. Like a couple of them, I think I was the only, no, I was, I think, one of 3 incoming freshmen that were hanging out with the drumline, and then the others were already there. They were sophomores. And we all wanted to be in a drum position. Well, the way it works, seniority, experience, that's just how it is. The couple of the like sophomore people, they ended up getting the last little bass drum auditions. I remember auditioning for bass too, and it was terrible. We had to play, I remember this specifically. You had to play quarter notes, and then you had to play eighth notes. You're auditioning for bass, so they wanted to see if you could subdivide. So it was, that was it. What I did is I flipped them, which I think was more impressive. I played I just switched them. I started with the upbeats and played the quarter notes on bars 2 and 4. But that means I had no idea how to play to a metronome. I didn't know what 8 and you're in was. I didn't know how to play drums in the marching style way. I could play a few things on drum set. Excuse me. But that was my audition. I remember that. I didn't make it. So what happens when you don't make the drum line? You get put in the pit. So they move me and a few of the other incoming freshmen that were interested in drumline, a couple of which I already knew, and one of them which became one of my closest best friends. And they're like, "What do you play?" And I mistakenly said I knew how to play piano. I wanted to play drums, so naturally what piqued my interest was the rack, right? You have the toms, the snare drum, all the cymbals. I wanted to do that. I wanted to play some drums. Well, I was the only one out of that little bunch of little freshman dweebs that sort of knew a little bit more. I knew how to play piano because I was in piano lessons. And that was a mistake. I got put on synth because I knew how to play piano. And so my pit instructor, we are so off topic. That's okay. It's the backstory. It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. So I got put on synth, and the school that I went to, we played box 6 shows because our instructor, our caption head, Paul, he was in Pulse in the early years from, the start of it, 2005 to 2008 was his age out. And he has a relationship with, Mapes and Grom. And so we played box 6 shows consistently since Paul showed up in, I think 2007 is when he showed up at Buena. They've been playing box 6 shows. So I got to do the whole little sample thing that, box 6 is known for. They got all the samples. And so that, fall marching band year, I was like, you know what? All right, cool. Whatever. I'm in pit. I'm playing synth, pushing my cart, my heavy ass synth cart, holding it down, doing all the fusion, red, no, not red, blue, green, yellow, fusion, chak, dum, dum, dum. It was kind of a lame show. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, fusion. That was my freshman year marching band show. So then I'm like, man, I want to be in the drums. So I'll put up a picture. There's an old picture of me in the band room playing on a drum pad, because the whole time of me playing synth in the pit, I had a drum pad on my synth cart, and anytime I could, I would go over there and just play a little bit. Like, I'm gonna be a snare drummer. Oh yeah, chako-do. Couldn't play anything, but that's what I wanted. I stole a pair of sticks from like the reject pile. We had this like cart that had just a bunch of just crappy mallets and crappy sticks. Just grabbed a pair of Ralph Hardemans from there, and then I bought my own drum pad, I'd borrow other people's drum pads, and I just play. And indoor auditions came. Well, what do we all know about high school? Usually the drumline that was in the fall is the drumline that's in the winter. So there are no open spots. You cannot, unless you just all of a sudden beat out somebody, there's no way. And even then, they're probably not going to pull somebody out because this random freshman kid somehow got really, really good. They're going to make you wait a year. I wasn't anywhere close to that. So what happens at the high school level is usually people that played horns in the fall will try to get a bass drum spot, or that's when the cymbal line opens up, for the indoor. And so they'll go play cymbals. Some clarinet kid will go play cymbals for indoor because he wants to be in drumline. So I auditioned for the cymbal spot for one of them. Well, guess what? I got to play the same subdivision exercise that I played the semester before on bass drum, but this time I played it right. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. I was very proud of myself. Well, let me introduce you to an exercise called moving eighth note. Everyone knows this exercise, but if you don't, I'll demonstrate. Basically, you're playing one note per bar, and it moves from the downbeat to the following upbeat, then to the following downbeat. So you start with 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and etc. All the way to and 1 when you play 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. That's the exercise. Holy shit, could I not play that? I had no idea how that was done. I was playing notes randomly, and I was in this small room just clapping, trying to play this thing with the band director sitting right there, with Paul sitting right there, with Deanna, the pit instructor sitting right there. And I'm just like, I'm having myself. But that was the only exercise I really messed up on. The other things they had me do, I did pretty well, if I remember correctly. Well, whatever. I go back into the choir room that we're all waiting in, and here comes the list. I'm on synth. They pull me aside because I'm clearly, visibly upset. Okay, I'm crying. I was devastated. My pit captain's like hugging me. Everyone's like, that's okay, Damien. Like, you'll get there. Like, you'll be in the drum line. Like, don't worry. Like, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to play synth. I hated synth. Fusion. It's bullshit. Anyway, they pull me aside. They're like, look, like, we know you want to be in the drum line, but you did so well on synth in the fall. Indoor is gonna be even crazier because now it's like it is real. You know, you have fall marching bands, you're kind of going through the motions, you're playing the shows, you're winning the little trophies, you're winning sweepstakes, but it doesn't really matter. We're in SCPA now. We're trying to compete and get to finals in SCPA. So they basically said that they needed somebody to hold it down on synth. Those are the exact words Paul said. I remember them. We need somebody to hold it down on synth. Those are the words I never wanted to hear. I was sick of synth. But fuck it. When you're told to do something, you do it. So I played synth. It was a pretty damn cool show. It was called Bound. It was another Box 6 show. And it was cool. It was groovy, and it was one of those sort of like darker shows. And they had like these cool like red pantyhose, I think is what they use, but they were like ropes. They used them as ropes, and they did all this stuff where they connected them. It was a pretty cool show. And I'm over here like boom, shing, boom, shing. I had a little shing sample, boom, shing, and then I had like whoa. I had like, you know, like soundscapes and stuff. And I had haws too. We had haws in the show, so I had to time it with the battery. I had to go ha, yeah. So anyway, I held it down on synth, like they asked me to. That was my freshman year. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. I might cut this out. I might have cut a few things out that are unnecessary. Yeah, we're talking about what groups inspired me, and I just went into my entire freshman year. I guess that's early marching, touches on that, early marching years and all that. Okay, let's be back. Shit. Back to the topic. So Paul was the caption head, and my band director was a guy named John Tyson. Well, Mr. Tyson, he marched Blue Devils back in the 90s. So, I mean, that didn't really put anything on my radar. I just thought it was badass. He played snare drum, so I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, sweet, Blue Devil snare. But Paul, being in Pulse, having pretty much freshly aged out, this was, 2010 and 11, so he had aged out just a few years ago. You know, I was like, oh my god, like Pulse Percussion? Who's that? So I look him up on YouTube, and I find Pulse 2010, which was the year prior that they won. So I immediately fall in love with that drum line. I think the red drums are sick. I think the show is sick. I learned that it's a Box 6 show, so I'm like, oh my god, we play Box 6 shows. And the snare break is cool. I tried learning it. I can't play it, but I'm playing it anyway. And that's when I sort of get that spark of like, wow, like independent groups are out there. So I started learning about Pulse. I started learning about RCC. I started learning about sort of the rivalry between Pulse and RCC. I start, learning about other groups like MCM and stuff that I'm like, oh, they're East Coast. Like, why do they mark time with their toes closed? That's so weird. I would never do that. I want to be a duck. And so I'm like just kind of forming these opinions, and I'm finding my interest, and I'm like showing my parents. I'm like, look at this Pulse video, and they're like, wow, Damien, that's pretty cool. You're showing me drum lines. That's great. And so then I'm like learning about DCI. So I'm like, whoa, summer marching band? What is this? Hey, wait a second. That guy that's in this video playing this drum with this group was in Pulse. You can do both? And then it all starts formulating. I'm like, oh, wow. Nate Medina marches Bluecoats, but he marches Pulse. Manny De Leon was in Vanguard, and then he was in Blue Devils, but he was in Pulse. And then, whoa, Henry Gillard was in RCC, but he's also in Bluecoats. Stephanie Vasilakis, same thing. RCC, Bluecoats. So I'm like starting to like kind of put all this stuff together, and I'm starting to kind of, my battery's going to die. What the hell, dude? Fresh battery in. Let me make sure we're still recording. All right, cool. We're good. So here's the thing with me. When I get interested in something, I get really invested, and I have to know everything, and I have to fully submerge myself into it. That's how it's always been. I don't know why. I go ham when I get into something. So when I was a kid, I liked to skateboard. I knew everything about every professional skateboarder, all of the, the competitions, sponsorships. I know who was sponsored by who. I knew everything. Got into Green Day. I got to know all of their songs. I had to know the meanings behind them. I have to know things in history about where Green Day started. And that's just sort of what I do, And so when I got to high school, oh my God. Forgot the mock check. Oh my God. Dude, we're all over the place. So when I got to high school and I started getting into marching percussion, I had to know everything. I'll tell you a story about how that bit me in the ass in 2014. But sometimes when I was younger, I would cross lines. I would get inappropriately obsessed with certain individuals in the activity. Never ever close to sort of a stalker type. I will say that there were certain boundaries that I did not, go into, but I knew probably too much that a normal sort of kid in drumline probably wouldn't know and shouldn't know. Basically, I knew everywhere Nate Medina marched. I knew, everywhere Manny De Leon marched. The, kind of the big names like Keelan, some other, other big names out there, like, what's his name? Nelson, Steve Nelson? That's not his name. He marched Bluecoats and Blue Devils. Scott Nelson. Like Amir, like it just Drew Guy, like the sort of the greats of the activity, the center snares, the long-term marchers that were in a group every year, and they were in the same group, and they did the whole back and forth between Pulse and Bluecoats, RCC, BD. I knew a lot about them. Not like on a personal level, just too much about where they marched. And I kind of idolized them. I look up to people. It's sort of a big thing that I do is I find idols and I latch onto them. And like that's how I form my interest and how I get into things. And so the main inspirations for me was Pulse and RCC. No, Pulse and Bluecoats, because I idolized people like Nate Medina. And I wanted to march Bluecoats. I wanted to march Pulse. I had a lot of connections because Paul had marched Pulse. Rich at the time, who had just graduated the year before I showed up, he was in the very first year of Pulse Open. So then I'm like, oh wow, there's an open class group that I know somebody that's marching in. You can use that as a stepping stone and get up to Pulse. And so Pulse was always where I wanted to be because I knew so many people in the organization, and I felt like I knew so many people in the organization that had no idea I existed. Rich was marching there, and Paul had marched there, and he was on staff there, and so that was what I wanted to do. And then the Bluecoats thing, I just thought they were cool. The uniforms are badass. I loved the helmets. I wanted to have one of those helmets. I wanted to, I wanted to play the music that they played. I wanted to, I wanted that Blue Coats vibe, that experience. I thought they were badass. Yeah, but, going back to the whole sort of like obsession thing is, I would design Zymox drum pads, like Zymox. Remember Zymox? I hope they're doing okay. I hope people get their orders. But I would go on their website and design those like custom identity pads, the Zymox ID or whatever, and it would just be pictures of Blue Coats, like just Blue Coats snare drummers, the Blue Coats drum line. It would say like 6 words on it, and like it had the Blue Coats logo. Like I was so obsessed with wanting to be in groups like the Blue Coats that I would do things like that. I wanted a core necklace. I made my own core necklace in high school where I'd wear a necklace with a penny on it because I found out that core necklaces are a thing and the Blue Coats, they use pennies. That's what I did when I was a kid. Like I said, kids my age probably shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be obsessing like that. I had a lot of time on my hands, and I had YouTube, and I don't know. It is what it is. So those were sort of like the early inspirations. And, throughout high school, I would bounce around. I'd have different dream drum corps. I'd have different dream WGI groups. I'd, get into Blue Devils for a little bit. I'd get into RCC for a little bit. I'd want to get, I wanted to march the Cavaliers for a little bit. I'd get into Carolina Crown. Like, I bounced around a lot. Vanguard, I was like, yeah. The cadets. Like, I just, like, I'd get my, like, I'd find something cool about, one drum line, and I'd get really into them, and I like the cadets. Like, I'd learn that AO was the center, and that he went to Dartmouth, and that Tom Ongst teaches Dartmouth, and he also taught the cadets. So then I put together, there's that relationship there. So then, I'd watch Dartmouth videos, and I'd watch AO in high school, and then I'd start idolizing these high school groups. So then I'd watch groups like Chino Hills, and then I'd see like Nicole Casino, who's in Chino Hills, but then she goes off and she does Pulse, but then she goes off and does RCC and Blue Devils, and like I kind of like put all that together and then just like know anything and everything about where these people marched. I'm just exposing myself right now. But yeah, that's sort of the early sort of inspiration things. Back to my own personal marching. After the indoor season had ended my freshman year, we had a change of instruction. Paul was leaving to move more south of California. I think he had a couple of groups that he wanted to go teach, and it would have been too far for him to continue to live close to us and teach us, but then also teach these groups that are farther. So he was moving, and we got an instructor that was less than perfect. He'd actually already taught Buena before Paul. So we went from, and his name was Paul too. So we went from Paul to Paul to Paul. Paul came back from before Paul. There's a reason Paul got fired and was replaced by Paul, but then now is coming back. That's all I'll say about the matter. Basically, it was my time to shine. People were graduating. People were moving around positions. Here's my shot. I'm going to audition for snare drum and hope I get bass drum. That was the plan. That's sort of how it worked. You audition for the higher up drums, and then you get placed on the bass drum. If you only auditioned for bass drum, you had a better chance of just getting put back into the pit. Unless you really wanted to play bass drum and you nailed it. Pardon me. Well, I prepared for this audition like I have never prepared for anything before. I took lessons from Rich. We played the exercises that I was going to be playing in the audition over and over again. He taught me basically how to mark time, playing time with my feet, playing time to a metronome, understand equal rhythms, play 16 notes equally. He taught me 16-note grid. That was one of the auditions. But it was like a further iteration of 16-note grid. So it started with the basic grid, but then we did a bunch of like double accents and it got crazy, but he taught me that. He taught me how, drill works. I remember I was super nervous about marching drill. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how to read the field. And I asked him, I was like, dude, if I make this thing, I don't know how I'm going to march drill. And he kind of walked me through. He's like, okay, well, basically you get point A and then you got to go from point A to point B. And it's going to give you, the certain amount of steps to get there in. And then you just got to take that natural pathway that gets you there and all that. He kind of worked through, and he basically made it for me. He made it happen because those couple lessons that I took right leading up to the audition changed everything for me. And so I went into the audition by myself, snare drum up on this giant auditorium stage with Mr. Tyson sitting there, Paul sitting there, other Paul sitting there, and Deanna sitting there. It was everyone. It was old techs that were leaving and the new ones coming in, because basically they wanted to make sure that they had a say in kind of forming everybody so that, the new Paul wasn't just kind of left alone. The other Paul wanted to make sure that, everything was set up and we were all in good hands and all that. Well, God damn it, I rocked the audition. I don't think I've ever played snare drum any better. My little sophomore, my little freshman, incoming sophomore self played the snare drum perfectly. Just kidding. It was probably kind of bad, but it was better than everyone else. And here's something that I like to think about from time to time. Paul said that he was sad that he was leaving and that I was going to be in battery and he wasn't going to be teaching me. I rocked the audition. I made snare drum. Man. And guess what? Who was the next incoming freshman to make snare drum? My boy Josh, my best friend, my partner in crime. It was the three of us. It was me, a guy named Alex, who was a senior, who had already been on snare drum, so he was center, and Josh. And this was the three amigos right here. And what it was is Josh and I always like bickering and like making jokes around Alex, and this senior guy with a beard just getting fed up with these two little kids around him playing snare drum, too young to be on the instrument. We should not be on snare drum. Josh is like 13 and I'm 14. There's no way you should put them on snare drum with... But yeah, no, that was a good time. We held it down, and then Josh and I became best friends really quickly. I hated him at first. Absolutely hated him because he was auditioning for snare drum, and there was like 6 of us trying out for 2 snare drum spots, and I hated him because his older brother was already in the drum line, who was already friends with Rich. Rich was already hanging out with Josh, giving him lessons while Josh was in middle school. So Josh was already really good. He was better than me. He's still better than me. I cannot catch up to Josh for the life of me. But we both made it, and then we became best friends. So there's that. And then we went on, and that was a throwaway year. My sophomore year, we don't really talk about. It was a bad year for Buena. So bad that my band director quit. Just kidding. No, my band director moved on to go direct at another school that his newly married wife, or he married someone and then she was also a band director, and then they went and then were like co-band directors at the school. So we had to bring in a new director. But Mr. Tyson knew that we got screwed that year. So Paul got fired again for the second time from the same school. And basically we were able to bring other Paul back. And that was awesome because now I'm on snare drum, and then now I get to play like box 6 shows, and my snare drum's gonna be tilted because the other Paul wanted flat snare drums. I shit you not, I think we were entertaining match grip at some point, and that would have sucked. But snare drums are back to tilted. Josh is center. We're holding it down. My buddy Alan, who I did the pit with my freshman year, we became like best friends in the pit because we were the delinquents of the front ensemble. So we became best friends, and now it's all 3 of us. So then it's like the 3 homies, dude, all on snare drum. But yeah, we didn't play any box 6 shows though. That was when we moved on to Paul wanted to write, and we were using shows from other schools that were in like Paul's network, but we were like redoing them. So I actually don't think I've played snare drum in one box 6 show because that fall we did do a box 6 show, but that was it. I've only played snare drum in one box 6 show. But yeah, then we were pretty successful. We made we made marching band finals that year for the first time, the SCSBOA circuit, and then I believe we made finals that year in indoor as well. I think we got 6th, and we were in A class. Yeah, we got 6th in A. And then my senior year, oh my God, we were so good. The 3 of us, Josh, Allen, and I, we were freaking tits, dude. But everywhere else was kind of lacking. The horn line wasn't as good as the year prior. The color guard had gotten actually really good though. But the horn line kind of held us back. So we ended up not even making finals my senior year in the fall, even though the drum line was pretty damn good. The snare line was undeniable. And the color guard was good. Front ensemble good. Brass kind of held us back a little bit. They had a much thinner sound. We had a lot of graduating seniors the year prior. Like if you could just switch, oh my God. If we just switched the horn line from my junior year to my senior year would have been, we probably could have done really well. Anyway, yeah, and then my senior year indoor, we competed in an open class, and we got 6th in open, which was pretty damn cool. And that was a really cool show. We played a Mike Jackson show. We played a show that Chino High School did a couple years prior, and that was a really great show. Except we took out the snare break. That's a story for another time. That still upsets me to this day. But I will talk. If anybody's interested, remind me in the comments. I will tell you the story about my senior year indoor show where we took out the beautiful snare drum solo that basically showed us off. It was Josh, Allen, and I's moment, and it was ripped out from underneath us. I can tell you that story another time. I totally didn't answer another part of this question. What was my first show? My first show in high school for indoor, my first show in high school was our first marching band show, but my first show in indoor, I can't remember for the life of me what school we were at. We never went back to that school. I don't even think I went back to that school like in Dark Sky. I think that school itself stopped hosting an SCPA show. But yeah, no, that was a great experience. It's like, oh Jesus, these like high school drum lines over there are freaking good. And I remember that Pulse was at that show, and holy shit, Pulse Open was at that show too. So Rich was there. So this is back in 2011, and Oh my God, I remember the gym was so small that by the time we were done performing, packing, and eating, and we went back in to watch the shows, we really, really wanted to watch polls. There was no space for us. And I remember Brad was super pissed off about that. But yeah, we had our wristbands. We were going and we're like, we're going to see Pulse. And the doors open. Pulse is coming in. I see them. They look so tall. Their drums are so shiny. They got that chrome hardware. They got that really cool sunburst shell, that brown sunburst. Oh my God, they looked so good. It was Generation Next, I think was the show. It was the one where they played with two hands and they talked on the cell phone. They played with one hand, talked on the cell phone. And oh my God, we were like, oh my God, Pulse percussion. And we didn't get to see it. We stayed in the hall and we listened to it, and they were loud as hell. And that's when you really got to hear like the crispness and the projection of a 9-guy snare line / girl. Actually, Nicole was in that year. But oh my God. And that's where I lost it. That was it. I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing with my life now. This is it. Because the sound of that was just, I didn't even have to see it. I just had to hear it. Eventually, following shows, finally got to see the groups. I remember that year too was Arcadia. They did Rise. And they're, on the knee and they're spinning. And whew, there's some good drum lines that year, dude. Good drum lines. But yeah, and that sort of, once I got to see groups live, that changed everything. And then shortly following the 2012 DCI season, I convinced my mom one night to buy 2 tickets to the RCC show, and the tickets were for Josh and I. And so my mom drove us down, and that year we got to go to, a Blue Devils lot. And I don't know if it was his first drum corps show, but it was definitely my first drum corps show. I think it was his first drum corps. It was Josh's first too. But yeah, we went and hung out we went and said hi to Rich because he was marching Mandarins that year. We went and said hi to Rich in the lot, but then we wanted to go watch other drum lines. Missed opportunity because that Mandarins 2012 drum line was. But we went to the Blue Devils lot. I think we tried to watch Vanguard for a little bit, and we were watching other groups, and man, and then we finally made it inside. We missed the Mandarins. We tried to get inside in time to watch the Mandarins, but we stayed in the Blue Devils lot too long, so we missed the Mandarins. So my very, very first drum corps show, full ensemble that I got to watch was Academy 2012. What was that? That was the Left of Spring, or was that the Rewrite? No, Rewrite was. I think the Rewrite of Spring was the Blue Devils version. Left of Spring, I think, was what the Academy show was called. I don't know. Somebody correct me in the comments. But what's funny about that is Zach Hollander was in the tenor line for that show, and then he later became one of my instructors in Mandarins. It all connects. It's all there. Yeah, so my very first drum corps show I went to RCC, and the very first drum corps show that I watched, full ensemble, was the Academy 2012. Weird show. I don't think I was very into that drum line. The early Academy years I was totally not into. The later Academy years, they were pretty good. Well, the old Academy was good. Like when Mo was marching there, pretty damn good. And I think it's because Murray was there. Murray Gissick was there. I could be wrong. I think that was like post Vanguard. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Paul marched Vanguard too in 06, and that's how Mike Jackson got on my radar. Because Mike Jackson was teaching at Vanguard at that time. Yeah, so that's it. I guess groups that inspired you. My first show, I talked all about my high school experiences and memories and all that. I don't know where that stopped. I didn't see it was stopping recording, but anyway, If anything, I'll put a funny picture and the audio will continue. But I'm just wrapping up this talking point. So talked about, the groups that inspired me. Pulse and Bluecoats is where I wanted to be. Never got to either. Like I said, that 2014 story has to do with Pulse, and it also has to do with the reason why I never ended up marching there, because I was going to. That was where I wanted to be. Something happened in 2014. It basically blacklisted me from Pulse until later years. Shit, you know what? I'm just going to go into it. This podcast is long enough already. We're going to go into it. Last talking point. You know what we're going to do? We're going to skip the Q&A. So this is the last talking point of the podcast. I'll pick up next week on some more smaller Q&A questions, as well as the topic of next week. So here's where I'm going to leave you. Some drama. So in 2014, Pulse had one of the most amazing drumline shows that I'll ever see. I don't remember what it was called, but it was the one where they played upside down on cages. It was the year they won. It was the spooky year. They did all the faces. They got that meme of Rich doing the, they had the, it's such a good show. I got to watch that show again. It's That Which Confines You, I think. I think that's the title. That Which Confines You. Could be wrong. I know it has confines in there. But that show was good, and I loved it. Rich was in it. He was center snare, and was he? No, he wasn't. I think Tyler was center. Rich was center the next year in 2015. Yeah, Rich was not center. But I liked the show so much, I needed to know everything. Well, unfortunately, that got me in a bit of trouble. Not only did it get me in trouble, but I got Rich in trouble also. So here's the deal. Sort of mid-season, a little bit close to the end, before one of the huge WGI regionals. It was the WGI San Bernardino regional, I believe. I'm hanging out with Rich because he teaches at my school, and I'm we're pretty close at that point. We're becoming friends, we're becoming buddies, and I'm about to graduate, and we're hanging out, we're drumming, we're just chilling. He's talking about Pulse and stuff. He goes, "Yeah, dude, this next show that's coming up tomorrow, or next week or something, we're playing upside down on some cages." And he tells me all about how they've got attachments for their snare drums on the top of these cages, and they're going to put them on there, and they're going to be upside down. Then they're going to climb up the cages, hang from their legs, and play the end of the show upside down. And I was like, oh my God. What? Rich? What are you saying? You're going to win, dude. You're playing snare drum upside down. You're going to win. I was so excited about it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I was also a part of the Zymox percussion Facebook group. And if you're not familiar with that group, a lot of people are familiar with that group because it had thousands of members. But if you're not familiar with the group, it basically was a giant Facebook group that Zymox started where you could order inquiries and post pictures of your drum pad, etc. But you could also talk about things happening in the activity. And a trend for that group was to post your predictions of like who's going to win WGI and what the order. Excuse me. You could talk about like who the top 5 are going to be. And a lot of people, I believe, had I think a lot of people had like MCM on the top of that list in 2014. Doesn't matter, irrelevant. But basically, they didn't have Pulse winning. A lot of people did not think Pulse was going to win. Well, here comes my big mouth. I comment on this thread of predictions and people, pleading their cases of why certain groups are going to win. And I go, hey guys, don't worry about Pulse. They're going to win. You know why? Because at this next show that they have coming up, they're debuting their final movement of the show, in which, no, they had the closer on the show already. They're debuting this new ending where the snare drums hang upside down from the cages and they play the end of the show upside down. I told everyone that. Rich told me that. From now hindsight and confidence, I was not supposed to say anything. Basically, it was a secret. Box 6, John Mapes, Ian Grom, they didn't say anything about it. They hadn't done it at a show yet. There was nothing. It was an idea that they had, that they executed, that they were waiting to do at a show, and it was supposed to blow everybody away, and it was supposed to be a secret. No one was supposed to know about it. They were just going to do it, and it was going to shock everyone. Well, I freaking told a Facebook group that had thousands of members in the marching activity about it. Here's what happened. Pulse Percussion members were in that page. They saw those comments. They took screenshots of those comments. They posted those screenshots inside of their Pulse Percussion members' Facebook groups, saying, who the fuck is this kid? Why does he know about our secret ending to our show? Who told him? Who is this kid? How are we going to find him and punish him? John Mapes was angry. I think I still have the conversation. So I'm going to pull it up. Yes, I do. Here it is. Okay, so it started off nicely. It actually started off really nicely. The first message, so this was March 20, 2014, he said, Damien, please take down your post about any upside down action with Pulse. That will not be happening this weekend, and you are not even supposed to know about it. And I was like, oh, fuck. Shit. So then I said, oh, sorry, man. Just excited. I'll take it off right now. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I'm so sorry. Like, shit, I did not know. I know I spoiled it. I took all the comments off. Good. Well, John, spoiler. Well, not spoiler. I'm going to preface this. No, I'm not going to use that word. I'll tell you this right now. John Mapes and I have since made up, sort of. When I was doing my whole day with groups thing, he actually came up to me at a show and asked, like, hey, let's do a day with Pulse. And we sort of mended our relationship. It was very, very bad for a number of years. I felt really weird filming Pulse in 2015. I couldn't be around him. I probably reading into it a little bit more, but I was devastated about all this because Pulse was like my dream group, and here is the director of it just freaking. So, but we have since made up, and we had a pretty good relationship when I was still involved in the activity, and He wanted me to come out and march polls. It never was in the cards, but anyway. He said, Damien, I have a few screenshots sent to me. I don't appreciate you posting copyrighted material and then complaining publicly that it was taken down. I don't remember doing that. Did I do that? I don't remember doing that, but I might have. And that is terrible that I did. If I went on there and said, John Mapes is making me take this down, then okay, I fucked myself on that. I don't remember doing that though. Anyway, you have no right to post anything that is not yours. I think we at Polls have a better understanding of timelines of when we want our shows public. There is a difference between hyping and being out of line. Yeah, that is a pretty good summary of the type of kid I was in high school with the activity. There's a difference between hyping and being out of line. A few times I got out of line. But also, I don't know anything about this activity. So he's like talking all this like language that I later learned. You know, I later learned how the timeline of shows and the behind the scenes and how things work. And, you know, I later learned that, and I know exactly where he's coming from, and I totally understand the words that you're saying now. But when I'm a little, 17, 16-year-old kid, I don't know anything about behind the scenes in the indoor shows. Rich just told me a cool thing about his show that I love, and I wanted other people to know about it. That's really, that doesn't go any deeper than that. I don't understand how it was a secret. I don't understand, I thought it got everybody hyped up. That's the thing, is in the comments, everyone's like, oh my God, I got to see that. Like, people were stoked about it. If anything, I promoted it, promoted Pulse a little bit. Like, it's water under the bridge now. It doesn't matter. This was, 6 years ago, but 7 years ago. Oh. That's right. He wasn't talking about this. He earlier he made me take down a video. I think it was of Pulse or of something. He made me take it. Yeah, I think I recorded Pulse. Oh, that's right. Oh, this is going to be a long one, boys. Back in 2012, so this was the second run-in with Mapes. Back in 2012, I went to the Pulse preview show because it was the first year that Rich was in Pulse World. And all of us that knew him and that were friends with him were absolutely stoked for him, and we wanted to go support him at the Pulse preview show. So we went, and I recorded the show. I recorded Pulse 2012, inside the full show with the floor and all that, without uniforms. I don't think they had uniforms yet. And I uploaded it to this YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is the same channel I've had. I uploaded it, and he made me take it down. I got the whole copyright strike thing. I don't know if he directly reached out, but yeah. It went on something, and I complained about him making me take it down. But this was 2 years ago. So he was holding that grudge this entire time. But, John, if you're watching this, there's no bad blood. We've already established that. But this is just pure entertainment at this point. There's no way John's watching this. John doesn't watch my channel. But I was really upset that he made me take it down because I was stoked. It's Pulse 2012. Coming and going. It was a good show, and I was excited. And I'm just an excited kid. And just, there's kind of a lot of I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. I understand it's copyrighted material, but it's just banned. You know what I'm saying? I understand that this is their business. This is how they make their money, and it's a competition. But it's banned, dude. It's just banned. And maybe it's because I'm not in one of those positions. I don't write shows. I don't do all that. I don't have the full understanding of the consequences between, behind leaked material and all that. But my best argument is that it's just banned. Maybe that's the wrong argument. Maybe that's insensitive of me, and maybe I'm underappreciating what they do, but it's banned. So that happened in 2012, 2 years prior. Well, he brings that up. He told me that he doesn't appreciate me complaining publicly about taking down copyrighted material. And this was 2 years ago, though. Like, okay, yeah, I fucked up again, but like, so I said, I'm sorry for all that. I really am. It won't happen again, but I also feel that this could be handled better. It could have been, because here's what happened in 2014. I'm getting harassed by a bunch of Pulse members right now, and I think that is just unnecessary. I received a text message requesting it to be taken down, and I had no problem. I took it down. Like, okay, yeah, I fucked up. Now my inbox is being spammed with hate. This activity isn't the Illuminati, and I'm sorry if this message offends you. I'm just annoyed that now I'm being looked at as a bad person. More or less how I feel about it now. I probably would have left out things of, why would I talk about the Illuminati? It was 2014. It was when the Illuminati was popular, I guess. But I had several members basically reach out to me and talk a lot of shit to me. They said a lot of hurtful things. I won't name names. If you're watching this channel, you know who you are. But yeah, a few of the marching members of Pulse that year messaged me and said some pretty awful things to me about something that is just banned. So it devastated me, because it was a lot of people I looked up to also. Because here I am feeling shitty now that Mapes is calling me out. And the guy that I want to march under, the guy that I want to get instruction from, he's now ruining that dream. Rightfully so. But the dream of me marching Pulse is now never happening. Then I fucked over Rich. He told me something that no one was supposed to know. He trusted me with that information, and I went my big ass mouth, blabbered it out. So then I felt extremely bad for him, because now he's got to show his face in front of these people. He's got to go to Pulse rehearsal. And they quickly can put it together. Kid's profile says Buena High School. Where did Rich go? Where does he teach? Buena High School. 2 and 2. Easy. So I really messed up. I got Rich into some trouble, basically. And he held it. Rich did a good job at not making me feel bad. I have a feeling that he got ripped into a lot more than he let off. He came back and we had talked about it at some point, and I asked him if he had gotten in trouble for that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they got talked to a little bit," but I'm pretty sure dude got railed. I'm sure they laid into him for leaking that information. Maybe not, but I still feel bad about that. But here is the next message. It says, Damien, you are blasting me and Pulse on your Facebook page for taking down a video you had no legal right to post. So back to 2012. We're talking about 2012 in 2014. Then you try and tell the world about things you aren't even supposed to know about that clearly aren't your business. You should really take a step back and realize how you look right now. And now you are mad at us. So I'll keep reminding you, this is long dead. This is just a conversation that happened several years ago. There's no, we both look bad, honestly. Like, I look shitty, John looks shitty. It's even, really. Say what you want about it, but it happened a long time ago and doesn't matter anymore. But I'm just telling the story because I think some of you would be interested in it. So I said, for the record, it wasn't my video. I just saw it and shared it, not my YouTube channel. I don't know if that's true. Did I take a video and just re-upload it? I thought I filmed it. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. And I do feel bad for the things I said, but it was also Jared who was bagging on you, and I feel like you should talk to him too. I don't know who I referenced there. Jared I know or a different Jared? It sucks that this is coming up from a dude I look up to and admire, and a program that inspires me and influences my performance in this activity. That's valid. It did suck. I thought this whole thing was handled very poorly. Oh yeah. He says, you should really stop pushing this. You have tried to video us in the past and then complained recently on your page that we weren't nice when we asked you to take down copyrighted material you had no right to post. If you really looked up to and admire someone, you wouldn't say the things you have said. Well, if I remember correctly, it was still pretty rude the way the video had to be taken down. Shit. Okay, I'm not some sort of like, it doesn't take a lot to offend me, but also I feel like that there should be like some level of respect when you're talking to other people, even when they do something wrong. So like, if they're doing something clearly wrong and you need to put a stop to it, there are still more respectful ways to go about that conversation. And at the time when I was 16, I felt like that didn't happen. But like I said, it doesn't matter anymore. It was a long time ago. This is in no way trying to start any sort of beef. I'm just simply telling the story. I literally don't care anymore. I think John and I have a fine relationship now. I haven't talked to him in years, but I'm sure if we saw each other in the lot, he'd be like, "What's up, dude? What's up, dude? What you doing, dude?" He's a good guy. And so I said, I am sorry. I posted an apology on my page, and it has also come to my attention that there's a post on the Pulse member page about my apology, and that I have taken down everything. That was the big thing it's like, not only did I sort of ruin Mapes' day by posting this, it's like every member was pissed off at me. And then Rich just got the front of it all. Like, I still feel about it. I feel bad about that because it wasn't my right to do that. And then Rich probably took a bunch of shit for it. And, thank God he didn't get kicked out, or, he marched the next year and was center and aged out with Pulse. And I'm so thankful that nothing like that catastrophical happened, where he, got kicked out of the group or something. But that would have absolutely ruined everything between him and I. But yeah, that's the story of 2014. The following year, not even a couple months later, this thing is gonna be so long. Maybe this is gonna be a part 1 and a part 2. I don't know. So a few months later, it was Pulse 2015 auditions. And if anybody knows, if you know about this situation, you know who I'm talking about. I will not name names, but there was an individual that marched a group. Okay, so he marched Pulse Open the year prior. And he was going to audition for Pulse World. And I believe it was his age out. And long story short, he got cut from Pulse World after marching Pulse Open the year before. I don't know what he ended up doing after, but basically, I'm only talking about this because of how public he made it also. If I knew about this behind the scenes, I wouldn't be talking about it, but he then took it to Facebook to publicly blast the Pulse organization. He insulted John Mapes and all of the Pulse staff, basically saying they don't know what they're doing. He was very, very bitter about being cut. And because I was Facebook friends with so many people in the activity, I was either friends with him and saw it on Facebook myself, or somebody had shared it that I was friends with and saw it that way. But basically, he just was talking so much shit about Pulse, like bad, saying bad things. And I took it to myself to comment, and I don't know if I really, yeah. So, my comment was sort of something along the lines of, "Hey, this isn't cool. Sorry you got cut, but you have no right to say such hurtful things about an organization and about certain individuals that are unnecessary and that don't really hold any ground and that are untrue and are, and just so plain disrespectful." And then in that same comment, I said, "You know what? I'm blacklisted from Pulse after what I did last year, but I still look up to the organization and I still respect them as a group, and I'm hoping that someday I can march there. But it is absolutely disrespectful and uncalled for you to be saying these things about John Mapes and about the group." That was my comment. Totally unprompted. Just, I was pissed that he was saying these things. Because even with what happened between Mapes and I felt that wasn't necessary. Well, then Mapes reached out, and this is how we sort of made up. He said, "Hey, Damien, saw your post on so-and-so's thing. I hope you know there is no bad blood between Pulse/myself and you. You were a high school kid who was trying to hype. Please don't hold anything against myself or the group. I'm glad to see you are still drumming. You are welcome to come out to Pulse anytime in the future if that is something you would want later." I shit you not, dude. That was like one of the best messages that you could possibly get from a kid that fucked up so hard and felt blacklisted from a group. It just like made everything better. And so I said, "John, thanks so much for this. It seriously means a lot. When I did what I did and got all of the messages from members and you, I felt so bad. It's really awesome to know that you're not holding that grudge on me. Thank you." And it felt shitty, dude. I got some fucked up things said to me by some of those people. He said, "Yep. Obviously, when all the members get involved, things escalated quickly. That wasn't right. I haven't thought about that in so long, and then I saw your post. Seriously, don't worry about any of that. Just keep drumming." So thanks. Have a good one. Fuck it. I'll tell that story too. We're just talking. This is just me and John Mapes. We're just talking about all of our interactions because it's sort of connected. So that happened. I marched Dark Sky that year. But I knew that I had a spot at Pulse if I showed up and drummed well enough and earned it. I could definitely march that organization, which was awesome because that was where I wanted to be. Unfortunately, didn't happen. I marched Dark Sky for 2 years because I wanted to be in that group when they made finals for the first time. And then just some things happened after that year, and I decided I wasn't going to march indoor anymore. I actually had a spot at Pulse offered to me for the 2017 season that I had to turn down just because it wasn't monetarily wasn't very feasible. I could have made it happen if I really, really wanted to, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't do it. That's okay. It just is what it is. Life just gets in the way sometimes. But but yeah, then later, later, I actually auditioned for Blue Stars, and this was when John Mapes was over there. And basically, I was the last cut. I think I've mentioned this on here before. There was 2 spots open, so already super difficult. And my boy Will McTavish got 1 spot, and it was between the SoCal auditions. It was between me and I think David Martinez is his name. I think he's marched Blue Stars and Pulse and all that. I think it was like between me and him, and maybe one other person for the last spot in SoCal though. So the thing with that year, what they did is they did a SoCal audition and then they did a Midwest audition. So I did the SoCal audition, got a call back, went to the second day. I didn't get cut in SoCal that callback day, and Will got the spot, and I believe David got cut, and I think there was another person that got cut. So basically there was 1 spot open and I was in limbo. Everyone else got cut and Will made it, but I was like in this like limbo. They didn't know. They said, "Hey, we've got another guy out in the Midwest that we're looking at. When the Midwest callback happens, if he gets cut, the spot's yours." That's where we left off. Well, at that time, I was still pretty fat. I was a big kid, and John expressed his concerns with my abilities to move. Like move with the drum and move on the field. The concerns were expressed about my ability to march well because of my weight. And that's fine. It is what it is. I was big, I was fat, I was obese. I moved perfectly fine at Dark Sky. Maybe not perfectly fine. There were several things in Dark Sky that I had to sort of modify and not do fully because I just did not have that physical capability that I didn't really understand at the time. Like, for example, in 2016, we did a lot of kneeling. It was the Wolf Show, and we did a lot of crouching. Well, for some reason, I couldn't squat like all the way. Like my legs were too big, I guess, and I couldn't like squat down all the way, and my belly was in the way, so I couldn't bend. I couldn't fold, and that held me back from a lot of the body movements that we had to do. But I tried to make it work as best as possible, and it never got. I couldn't bear crawl. I had no strength to bear crawl, and so yeah, there were certain things that they had us do that were physically demanding that I couldn't handle. But it didn't really. It never really was that big of a deal. I always sort of made it happen and made it look okay, but definitely I wish I had, lost the weight so that I could be better. Because now I squat down all the time and it doesn't hurt my knees anymore, and it I can get down all the way. I can fold down pretty small. And so I definitely would have been a much better marcher and a much better candidate for that last spot. Because the guy that got the spot out in the Midwest, spoiler, I was cut. The guy that got the spot out of the Midwest was just a smidge smaller than I. He was a thick boy too, but he looked just a bit smaller. And maybe it wasn't because of the weight. Maybe he had better hands. I don't know. I thought my hands were pretty good, but not at all putting words in their mouth. I feel like I got cut because I was fat and they didn't want to take a risk on that. And that's totally their call. No hard feelings about that. I think that's what the reason was. And if that wasn't, whatever. I'm not trying to make them, fat phobia. No, fuck that. I got cut because I was fat. I would have cut me too. If you got a guy that looks a little bit, physically more capable, take him. It's fair. Absolutely. But that's what happened. Then that's how I feel what happened. But he reached out after the audition, said, "Hey, Damien, sorry to hear about Stars. It was very close, But are you still looking for a place to march? Madison still might be looking for another solid guy. Ryan Anderson is the main battery guy there, so there is still a connection. Let me know if you are interested. I had a shot at shot at scouts, which would have been interesting if I had marched scouts. No, I decided not to march. I think we had like some travel things lined up for that year. We were going to Mexico. That was why I couldn't do a couple of videos that year. I think because that was 2015. What was I doing in 2016? The summer of 20. I don't know. We went somewhere. But yeah, I had a spot at Scouts if I wanted it. Probably. That would have been a fun trip. But yeah. That's sort of my whole thing. And then everyone knows I went on to do Mandarins in 2017. So the following summer, they took a fat chance on me because I got bigger. I wasn't marching that summer. I didn't care about anything. I just got fatter. And they took a huge risk on me. And they made me center. Here's this fat dude. But the thing is when we were doing the visual sort of evaluation at Blue Stars, I was moving fine. And they saw that I was moving fine. I couldn't do the bear claw. Caleb made us do bear crawls, and I couldn't do them. I do remember that. But I remember marching, and I was marching pretty fine. And then in Mandarins, I was used as an example. They were like... I think Darren said this, but I could be wrong. Could be making this up. But I feel like he said at one point when we were doing the visual audition, he goes, "Look at Damien. Look at this big boy. He's moving better than all of you, and he's big." I could be paraphrasing. Could maybe not. But I feel like I remember that happening. I thought it was pretty funny. That it doesn't offend me at all. I thought it was hilarious. But they took a fat chance on me and then put me in the center spot. And, well, we all know what happened. Lost all of it. All 135 pounds. Gone. So, anyway, I think I'm going to end it there. Real quick, though, John, if you're watching this, I shared private conversation material, obviously. If you do want any of that taken out, if you don't want me to talk about that kind of stuff, I will absolutely take it down. I understand that that's a private conversation. Those words you said, in a private setting, absolutely not trying to put you on blast, not calling you out for anything, just sharing the story and the experiences. But I respect that if you would like me to take that off. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to end it here. This is going to be a long one, I bet. And because I'm on spring break this week, you'll probably get another one this week. I won't be doing anything. So next Monday, probably, we'll talk about a new topic. And in the comments below, leave me some other topics that you might want to talk about or some other smaller questions that you might want me to answer. I love this. This is, it's fun talking about this stuff. I miss talking about this stuff. This was my life for so long, and sort of kind of hanging on by a thread, but I'm happy I get to talk about it here and share all these experiences. But yeah, like I said, not at all trying to start beef with John. Pulse, great organization, really good friend, marched there. Cameron and Sergio, and I love John, I love Box 6, I love Pulse. This was not at all any sort of trying to start any beef or anything. So just trying to cover all the bases. I just don't want people to be upset. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Monday Morning Moccasins. Cue outro music.